Perfect. So let's get started. Welcome everyone. This is our second expert panel that we're organizing at Apptim. For those who don't know us or don't know who I am, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Apptim. We allow mobile developers to improve user experience through an efficient testing and monitoring solution that measures the most important KPIs. And we do this before launching a new version of the app to the market. So we can use Apptim for development and testing. And today we have an amazing panel, and I'm very grateful for the speakers that decided to join us today. I'll introduce them first, and then we'll just jump into the first questions. So Joshua is joining us from the Bay Area, from California. He's a second-generation Hispanic American from El Salvador. He was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and graduated from Georgia Southern University. He's currently an iOS developer at DoorDash, focused on app performance and improving the Dasher experience. He previously worked at IBM and Facebook across a wide range of products and verticals. He's passionate about people and building high-quality products, which is something that we share as well at Apptim. His expertise in iOS, and he also enjoys dabbling in Rust, Java, and JavaScript. And when he's not coding, he enjoys trying new coffee shops, playing guitar, and driving through the mountains. Thanks, George, for joining us. Welcome. We have Juan from Argentina. He's a senior native iOS developer with experience in e-commerce and fintech industries. He's accomplished in delivering mobile solutions that are performant, well-designed, and easy to use. So welcome, Juan. Thanks for joining us. And last, we have Nitin. He's joining us from Malaysia. So we have a very international panel today, 3 different continents. And Nitin is the founder of Synapse QA, a co-writing space of test automation professionals and software quality advocates. He has nearly a decade of experience in the IT field with a focus on test automation, delivery of mobile and web-based applications. Nitin actively runs test automation workshops and helps out professionals share their writings in the Synapse QA community. And he works as a QA leader at Fave, which is a deals and cashback app that saves consumers money at local businesses. Thank you, Nitin, for joining us. And let's get started with our first question. I'm actually going to stop sharing so we can see everyone's faces. And well, let's start with Joshua. I introduced you first. Can you tell us a bit more about your current role at DoorDash, your team, and what you're doing there today?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. So if you haven't heard of us, DoorDash, we're a food ordering and delivery platform. So at DoorDash, we have 2 apps, the DoorDash app and actually the Dasher app as well. The DoorDash app is where you can order food as a consumer. And the Dasher app is where our local drivers use that app to actually fulfill the deliveries. So I specifically work on the Dasher fulfillment team, which we're responsible for the Dasher, the driver's experience end to end within the app. So that's empowering them to make deliveries and while they're on the dash and while they're off as well, which the dash is them starting a delivery. And so I specifically work on the iOS app. So the Dasher app, and some of my recent projects was actually the mobile app performance. So that's like creating a holistic view of the entire app and drilling down into different features of the app. So app start, networking, and different parts of actually the Dasher's experience within the app.
Okay, that's awesome. We're looking forward to hear more about what you've been working lately in performance with the Dash app. Nitin, let's go with you. I see you next to me in the Zoom grid view. Can you please tell us a bit about Fave, what you're doing also on Synapse QA and your current role?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me here. So my company is Fave. We started back in 2015. We are one of the Southeast Asia's fastest growing fintech platform. So what we do is we provide payments and loyalty solutions, and we also have an aggregator of most popular cards and e-wallets. And we are also helping merchants to increase their customer outreach. So we can say it is a e-discovery app, which lets our merchants to connect with their customers and all. So I work as the QA lead for test automation, and I'm leading a team of amazing testers over here. And my focus is more towards building quality deliverables for the team. And my main portfolio lies with test automation. So I am more focused on building sustainable test automation framework for functional, considering the functional and non-functional aspect of our all the products. So we have similar, like what Joshua said, we also have a consumer facing application, and we also have a merchant facing application. So I am involved in all those projects. Yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you, Nitin, for sharing that. Nitin has been, we've known Nitin for over a year now. He's one of the early adopters of Apptim. He's been a great ambassador in that part of the world, which we never thought we were going to reach. So thanks for joining us again, Nitin. And we'd like to hear more about what you've been working at FABE in terms of mobile testing, quality, and performance. And Juan, can you tell us a bit about your current role at Mercado Libre, and maybe also your experience in the team around these topics?
Sure. Well, I work at Mercado Libre. That is one of the biggest e-commerce and fintech in Latin America. Well, I think that through our complete ecosystem made up of Mercado Pago, Mercado Shops, Mercado Envíos, Mercado Publicidad, we offer solutions so that both individuals and companies can buy, sell, advertise, send money, or pay for goods and services online. So from bottom to top, we make sure to offer the best user experience. About my role and team, I'm responsible of two squads, SRE and performance, and they are part of a largest team called mobile architecture. And from the SRE team, we provide tools and processes to monitor availability, latency, performance, efficiency, and all the stuff. And from the performance squad, we are always tackling and providing solutions for general app issues and improvements, are also related with the KPIs that April mentioned from SRE team.
Great. Thanks, Juan, for the introduction. For those who don't know Mercado Libre, they are a pretty big company in Latin America, almost present in every Spanish-speaking country. And they started as a marketplace, and as Juan mentioned, they now have 5 different business models, at least that I know of, and they have grown a lot in these past years. So as I said, we have a very international panel. We're going to start now with Joshua again. Can you tell us specifically at DoorDash, which was what you mentioned, you work lately in performance of your app. Can you tell us about one of the biggest challenges that you focused, that you have, and what have you regarding performance of your mobile app or quality, and what is something that you've done to overcome it?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges I faced at DoorDash with the mobile app performance project was the data visualization. So there's a lot of data, and you can make like a lot of pretty charts, but making sure that those charts and that visualization actually tell the right story. It outlines issues. People can quickly understand the data, they can interpret the data, and then action upon that. So that was something that was new, especially as a developer. You're probably not working on creating charts a lot, but it's just very important to start to understand that data, because if you can log that data and then make it flow into a visualization, that's really powerful. So the way that I solved that was using actually Google's Data Studio. So we use Firebase Performance to actually do app performance tracing. And Data Studio is another product offering from Google. But it's an integration that you can just like instantly add onto Firebase Performance and BigQuery. So all these this is an ecosystem they have, which is really nice. So using Data Studio to do that and kind of actually going off, they have these templates and different things. So it's really great to see actually what a community has built, what they use. So you can actually have community dashboards and being able to see what other companies actually share their kind of dashboards, not their numbers or anything, but just kind of their setup so they can highlight what they see is very important. So we started again, what I was saying earlier, holistically at a high level. And then with each page, you went into more detail so we can see this story and make sure that we're just seeing the correct things that make sense for us.
Yeah, that sounds makes a lot of sense. And what would be kind of like the top KPIs of metrics that you're tracking today that you're seeing in those graphs that you can share or are important to you?
Yeah, Firebase Performance out of the box captures some things automatically. So networking is one of them, which I think is very important. Response time, payload size, making sure that our network calls are optimum and they're tracking that way and trending that way. App startup time is another very important one. And then with Firebase Performance, we actually added our own tracing. So we have our own tracing for our own product, our product features is what I mean. So rendering like a certain view or going from one place to like another within the app was very important for us to track. So we added kind of those at a high level. So for example, like logging in, right? You launching the app is one thing, but then actually logging in and getting to the home page is something that's like an example.
You track that response time or the time that it takes to log in.
Yeah, and we also captured user interaction in there as well to make sure that our product is optimum as well. I think that's important that, you know, the user is using this and what if they're very confused, they don't know what button to press or where they are. And so it takes them a very long time. So you can actually capture those kind of things, which I think is embodied into app performance as well.
Yeah, makes sense. And when you said you use a Firebase, I guess most of the metrics you're measuring are from real users.
Yes, and just recently they finally launched real-time logging as well. So we're getting this in real time as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Nitin, can you tell us a bit about one of the biggest challenges that you faced when testing user experience or performance or quality in general of one of the Fave apps and something that you have done to overcome it?
Yeah, sure. So user experience plays a vital role in actually we want to ensure that the user is getting the what they want to do using our app, right? So we want to deliver a seamless user experience. That is one of the main challenges which we try to solve all the time. And understanding our customers is always the key factor for success. What they want, what they are looking for, what are other performance metrics which we need to capture to ensure the user retention. So how big is our feature and how brilliant is our feature doesn't really matter if we couldn't deliver the seamless user experience. So that is one thing we always consider in Fave when we develop things. And initially we were fully focused on client side. No, we were fully focused on server side. So our infra side, they will be doing performance testing from their part. And our developers use profiling tools in Android Studio and Xcode. So it was full dev-centric performance test to ensure user experience initially. And then there was a chance where we could get an opportunity to inject QA into that performance testing aspect. And that is the point where we tried Apptim in place for doing the performance, capturing the performance related data and metrics. And it was pretty awesome with the comprehensive reports. And we eventually dropped all the performance capturing done from the development side. And we do the functional test together with Apptim and captures all the data and share with our team. And also, but we do have some tracking in CleverTap and also Firebase, same thing, which like Joshua mentioned.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is a challenge, at least what we face from Apptim, when you come to a team that it's either the developers profiling inside their IDEs or the testing team needing to take over that responsibility. What is the best approach if you want to do it during development and testing, right? Who's responsible for that? And what we try is to fill that gap for both for developers, but also for testers, as you said, because you are already running tests, either manually or automated for functional purposes. If we can add value on top of that and show you metrics that ahead of time you can detect if there's something slow or something that is not working as expected on a certain device, you can troubleshoot it before you launch a new version. So that is our main goal today, to be able to help in that specific part of the process with a tool that is easy to use and that can, in an automated fashion, capture all the data for you. When you have, you said, so one of the biggest challenge for you in terms of user experience, do you have any specific project that you remember when something was not easy to capture, understand, see, or improve?
Okay, so ours is a payment platform, so where we perform mostly it is QR code scanning, and we will be the user will be performing a QR code scan, and they will be continuing with the payment options. So that is how one of our flow works, and we did a benchmarking for that entire flow actually. So initially when we rolled it out, it was taking longer time than expected, and most of our customers was getting frustrated. And then we did performance profiling, concentrating on that particular area, and we also captured data using CleverTap. So where we getting drop-offs and what all are the reasons, and we tried to dig in deeper, and then we then we measured the benchmarking as 4 seconds or 5 seconds max to complete the entire transaction period. So once we set up the benchmark, it was easy for us to tackle that challenge. And in every release, we actually capture that metrics, and we ensure that in the peak time also it meets that benchmark only. If it goes beyond that threshold, a monitoring and alert will be sent to all of us.
Yeah, that's amazing, because we've seen a lot of teams that they're starting to start measuring or tracking, and sometimes it's hard to find what I'm comparing to, what is my baseline. We usually tell them, start with where you are today, and then you can improve from there. But you need to have a way to measure how these metrics are changing with every release, so you get a way to get an alert or something that tells you something is off. You should take a look now. And getting to that stage where you can do that with one specific area of your app that is important, it's something that it's a good achievement. Juan, can you tell us a bit about one of the biggest challenges that you faced when thinking about mobile experience and mobile performance of one of the apps at Mercado Libre, and how you had overcome it?
Sure. I think I would like to talk about what we would like to do a first introduction. I think that to be the best at what you do, you always have to be one step ahead of your competitors, speaking from the product to the experience itself. Every day the applications are evolving, and each time the competition is tougher. So I think this obviously involves improving performance. I remember a few years ago when you talk about performance in general, you may talk about just crash stability. And nowadays, I think that is not enough. I mean, you have a lot of KPIs that affect directly the user experience. For example, I don't know, startups, device resource consumption, app size, frozen frames, etc. So I will say that you probably will have a lot of challenge, but the key here, as the guys said before, is to have the visibility of each metric, how it impacts in the user. For that, I mean, you have to generate a lot of data, so you can plan what you are going to do with each metric. So for that specific point, I think that you may find a lot of tools in the market that you can use. For example, like they said before, I know Fiverr's performance, or even, I don't know, build your custom solution. Like in most of the biggest companies, you probably would do that. So I think that the key is that have the visibility on impact of each metric. And then I think that once you have the visibility, you can make a plan for that specific metric, and start integrating a lot of stuff to ensure that the quality for that specific KPI is keep among all the releases, and you have like the visibility if something changed from one version to another. For that, I mean, you also have a lot of tools like Apptim. You have also Google Vitals, custom tools provided by your own company. So I think that is the key, having visibility and how that impacts on user.
Makes a lot of sense, Juan. Thanks for sharing. I think the common thread here is about having the data available and know what you're tracking and what to do with it, which is a key aspect. It's not only having a way to capture the data, but also what the data is telling you and things that you should pay attention, things that you shouldn't pay attention. And that is a process that also it's a learning experience for the team who's in charge of this. Well, thanks for sharing your challenges and your view on this topic. My next question, let's start again with Joshua. It's about 5G, which everyone is talking about it. It's gonna soon in the next couple of years gonna be more widespread. And what I wanted to ask you, Joshua, is about how do you think the 5G network and its promises for a faster connectivity will impact specifically the mobile commerce landscape where you are today?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'll say that 5G is already here. So it's adopted in the new iPhone 12. And so with one of the biggest adoptions on a phone like that, it's going to become the standard moving forward. So I think that it's pretty much already here. I already know people who have 5G and they're using that today. So I think that it's going to start becoming the expected experience, right? When people interact with apps, especially, as more people start harnessing the power. The beginning when, on the iPhone, they'll be using a lot of Safari, just browsing, but then they're going to start moving towards apps and expecting that same exact experience, right? So 5G has like the promise of like Wi-Fi speed and Wi-Fi reliability. So they're going to start noticing very sluggish parts of apps or very sluggish parts that take a long time. And especially for commerce, there's very big commerce apps out there that are very fast today, which again can probably even make things even faster. So I think that it'll be very, very important to double down on performance actually with 5G, because especially on networking. So it'll be kind of an end-to-end solution here, because the back end, you'd be able to communicate a lot faster, but also making sure that the client can also take that speed as well and interpret it and render it onto the view very quickly. So it'll be just like a whole end-to-end that you need to kind of double down on.
Yeah, it feels like the bar is going to be even higher of what it is today, because we are gonna be able to provide faster experiences through the network, which sometimes it is the bottleneck in many countries at least. But then you need to also have you meet those expectations from server and client side as well. So it feels like it actually raises that bar.
Yeah, and I think it's like you're testing locally, usually testing on like Wi-Fi or, very reliable. So you can start to expect that more from the user as well, that they're probably going to have that same experience as well, which is really good. So you're kind of having more of that experience that they might have, because sometimes you're testing a Wi-Fi thinking this exact conditions that they're going to have, and it's not. They're probably like on 3G or something else. So
that is a challenge for many companies. Nitin, what do you think about this topic around 5G and how it will impact our current industry? Could be the mobile industry in general.
Okay, the advent of 5G will drastically change everything. So to add on to what Joshua said, it will eventually bring more customers online, and that will in turn will bring more revenue to all the companies. So when we come back to the user experience perspective, so 5G will have a lower latency. It will deliver more faster results for the users, and it will ensure that the seamless interactions happen between the client and server. And also there will be evolution of VR and AR technologies in e-commerce landscape. And more people will start leveraging the AI ML capabilities in terms of app. Even we in Fave now started adopting the AI ML capabilities into our app to deliver better personalization aspects to the users. And also, I have read that the 5G provides more accurate location-specific features for the apps which use geotagging kind of sort of features. It will be more helpful for them to scale up and bring better results to the customers.
Yeah, totally. I would love to learn more about how you're including some AI capabilities into your app, because what we've seen is even Apple, most of their machine learning algorithms are being run on device. So it also means that more processing is happening on the device, and how that can potentially also affect the performance and the user experience. And before I go to you, Juan, I want to remember everyone, we're gonna enter our Q&A section soon. So if you have any questions for our speakers, please go to the Q&A option and you can ask your questions there. We're gonna review them soon. Juan, what's your take on how the future will look like with 5G widespread?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting topic. Before talking about the importance of 5G, I first would like to review some statistics and facts about connectivity. To start with, I think that the COVID-19 pandemic has cast spotlight on the importance of digital technologies and connectivity, in particularly for social and economic well-being. And that is why I believe, this is my personal opinion, that connectivity has becomes such an essential service, like I don't know, electricity or water. So there is also a very interesting report called the Mobile Economy Latin America 2020 that forecast almost 62 million connections across the region by 2025. That represent almost 10% of adoption rate for 5G, and also an 80% of smartphone adoption. So I think that are really interesting facts. And taking in mind that for 5G, what I think that could improve, well, I think that could improve a lot. By a lot, I can start giving some example. Let's start with, for example, download speed impact. Some article says that almost 70% of people in emerging markets consider the upside before making the download. So that is very, very important. And even more in Latin America, that is our context. And you also have very important companies like Facebook that say that an increase in 6 megabyte of the app size has an impact in decrease in the conversion rate of 1%. So I think that with the best connection, with more stability, you will have a direct impact on the conversion rate for your downloads. So I think that is a very important feature. I think that from the app size to the performance of network, you are making sure that with this new technology, you will have lower latency. So that will translate to a better product and better user experience. So I think that I expect a lot from 5G. I think that in Latin America, we are a bit more far than the other regions. But I think that the most value that we will have is in our region from Latin America, where connections are very poor. So I have a lot of expectation.
Totally, I think it's going to be a bigger change in many parts of the continent for sure. Thanks, Juan, for sharing that. And we do believe that although mobile mobile devices or smartphones have been around for more than 10 years, really the adoption in most of the world is started happening this past years. And that's also when you have new challenges in terms of environments where people are connecting with their phones, which network they're using, even what device they're running your app, which there's a huge fragmentation in the market. So that's still going to be a challenge for many companies that are targeting larger audiences in different countries or even different continents. And this takes me actually to our first question for the Q&A, which is, any of you can answer this question. How do you choose the minimum device set to test performance of your app? who wants to take it?
Yeah, maybe I can start. So we don't have like exactly like a hard rule, because especially if, I was speaking earlier about the Dasher app and the DoorDash app. For the Dasher app, this is they use this as their work, as their job. So it's very, very important that they can do their job. So we want to make sure that they're able to use any of the device that they have on hand. This is especially important for Android, which has a wide spectrum of devices, which have all different spectrum of capabilities as well. So there's not exactly a hard rule, but I will say when an issue arises, we definitely do our best to prioritize based on the severity of the issue. We look through logs, we look through performance, we actually call Dashers as well and talk to Dashers to see how widespread this issue is, to make sure that they can keep going and doing deliveries and being able to be on the Dash. But I will say that, yeah, just based on prioritizing from there, we try to make sure we can fix the issue that it does cover most of the devices on hand.
Yeah.
I believe that answers the question. Good.
Anything, Juan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I want to add that, as we talked before, I think that the key here is to have data of these performance metrics. And that is one key that we have here at Mercado Libre. We have the visibility on the performance of each device that we have on our users. And with that data, we can see if the performance improve or getting worse in each version. And also we take the amount of devices or the majority of devices that the user has. So we run our tests taking in consideration that data. I mean, in the most concurrent device, we use that as a basis.
For us also in FAVE, we do the same. So ours is also a data-driven testing approach. It is practically impossible to test in all device and OS combinations, right? So we capture the data, our customers, what is the majority of the device they are using and what are the majority of OS versions they are having. And then we prioritize based on that. All our tests are designed based on that specific data.
And to add to the question, where do you get this information? Is it from Firebase from Google? Is it analytics? Is it some homegrown solution how you capture this data from your users and how you
so
see
whenever so whenever there is an issue which is happening on the client side, what happens is we capture data in a tool called Sentry. In Sentry, it actually specifies the device fragmentation and the OS combination. So from there, we know that what all are the devices which is impacted with this change, and then we prioritize issue based on that. And other than that, we capture the data from CleverTap. So all the details of the devices and the user specific things will be available over there.
Yeah, Sentry, I think it's in like an APM tool, application performance management, in that space. Yeah, makes sense. And this is something that the testing team has access to, correct?
Yeah, we have access to it.
Yeah, that's great. We've seen some companies that sometimes they don't, because there's like the ops team is the one that managed that part of monitoring. And we always say, how can you not know, or that feedback actually loop from what's happening in production to testing and know what to prioritize. I think once you have enough users where you can actually gather data, then you're in a good moment to know which devices to prioritize.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, anything you can test on every device, it should aim to have a coverage that you feel comfortable with when you release a new version of your app. So that's thanks for your answers, guys. Next question. So the next one is around more focused on mobile test automation frameworks. I don't know if you have any experience adding or implementing AI and ML to your test automation. There are several tools in the market that have that as a promise. Either they do it or not very well. Do you have any experience around that? Do you think this is something that will also change the way we are automating tests in mobile, or can potentially improve some of the challenges that we have?
I can start with that question. Actually, it's a brilliant question. So I don't personally have experience by implementing AI ML capabilities into our test automation framework. So, but I evaluated test team and test project. So both these tools actually come up with this AI ML capabilities on test automation arena. So what they do is they have a self-healing mechanism. So whenever the most common flakiness occurs when the objects change. So in our UI test automation, what happens is whenever the objects change, our test will keep on failing. So it is hard to determine when we have a normal framework with this AI/ML capabilities embedded into their framework. What happens is they capture several other attributes of the specific object and will do a self-healing mechanism, which ensures, which reduces the flakiness of the test. And in ours, what we do is whenever there is a common flakiness, which is happening continuously, we can say it is a human AI ML mechanism, which we do. So we have a dashboard. If a certain test is failing at specific area, we do fixing on that specific area. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. I know Joshua and Juan, do you have any experience or anything to add to this question?
Yeah, I think we are a bit far from implementing AI in our tests, automation tests, but I think that the key here is to have the process. So that means that you can ensure the quality of each release, that give you a security that what you change is correct. So I think that for the moment we work a lot of including new tests, but for now we are a bit far from implementing AI because implementing new technology like this involves also a lot of effort to take this to the other teams. So I think that for the moment we are a bit far. But I found that is a really interesting topic to deep dive.
Yeah, similar to Juan's response. I wish I had a better response for this, but this is definitely something I think piques my interest for us to adapt at DoorDash as well. It seems like this would be very useful actually in our testing frameworks.
Yeah, it feels like it is something that's going to be more common practice in the next years also to come, because there's a lot of challenges with test automation. I think anything mentioned the biggest ones with test flakiness, and also other areas when there's a useful use of AI that can help the testing teams when they're automating both their iOS and Android apps. We have another question focused actually on the 5G questions that I said, and this is the question is, do you expect that apps will become heavier with 5G, and that this might cause apps to avoid processing on the client side? Oh, or this will cause apps to avoid processing. So sorry, the question is, do you think apps will become more heavier because they're gonna implement new capabilities like AR, VR, and improve that experience on the device because the network is faster? Or do you think that you will still try to avoid processing a lot on the client side and just get most of the computation happening on the back end? Do you think there's any change related to 5G? Still going to be the same?
Yeah, I can try to answer this one a bit. I can't speak for maybe other apps specifically, but you know, as me being a consumer of apps as well, I mean, I think that with 5G, what I have been seeing is that things have been moving to the server side a little bit more, right? Like the cloud is something that's definitely heavily leveraged now. With 5G, you can have even faster interaction with that. As far as processing the client, I think it definitely depends on the platform. I've seen like Apple taking the approach of doing a lot more client side processing, even now recently with Siri being processed on the client side. versus that being done on the cloud. So I think it's just going to be a half and half. There's some apps that very much heavily rely on server-side processing versus client-side, so it makes a lot more sense. But then there's other apps like Signal, which is very privacy-centric, and I believe that they do everything on the client side. There's really not much that touches the server side. So I think a lot of apps are facing that, half and half kind of thing. Like where do we start doing the processing power? Again, at DoorDash, I hope that our app doesn't become heavier or bigger. That's something we definitely try to be cautious about, is the binary size. But with 5G, I don't see there being a big change in what we're gonna do as far as the way that we're headed.
Totally. And you mentioned something that is important, which is the security concerns from users. And I think that's one of the main reasons why, as you mentioned now, Siri starting in iOS 15 is going to be by default running on device without internet connection. And I think what Apple tried to do was addressing these concerns from users. And in general, that voice assistants could have when you're sending data to the cloud. So maybe it depends on the type of app, as you mentioned, and where most of the processing should happen. Is not only about the performance, but also about, for example, the security concerns. Juan, do you have anything to add to this specific question?
Yeah, I think that at first 5G will leverage, as Joshua said, a lot of work, a lot of connectivity. But I think that sooner or later, you may want to use the full resources that you have. I mean, the more resources you have, I think the more benefit you want to take. So I think that in some point, we will have a lot of new technologies that involve a lot of processing. So I think that in some point, I think that we are going to make use of full use of 5G connection. So I think that in some point we are going to do a more process than we do nowadays, and I think that is a point that I'm curious of. Let's say, for example, a few years ago you had some devices with I don't know, less than 1 GB of RAM. Now you have a cell phone that has almost the same capability as a notebook. So I think that the more resources you have, the more you want to make benefit of. So I think that for some years we will see a lot of benefit, but in some point in the future, we will implement a lot of technologies to make the best use of 5G.
Makes a lot of sense. A lot of people say we're going to be mining Bitcoins from our phones if we improve the capacity of that, which is very true, that there's a lot of unused power if you don't take advantage of what's available today in smartphones. Do you have anything you want to add on this?
Yeah, just one small thing, one small comment. So with here in Southeast Asia, actually people are so much careful about app size. So it actually comes back to the point where what our app delivers, right? So if it is an e-commerce app and we are saying that it is 100 MB of size, people won't download at all, because we are not delivering that much capabilities. It is not a gaming app. So what matters is what our app delivers, and then mainly it depends on the connectivity. So here, most of the people are depending on the mobile connectivity. So we have to keep our app size minimal all the time. So in Fave also, what we try to do is we try to keep it lesser in size, because people are always complaining about frequent updates and download slowness and all. So they even come to our customer service saying that the app is taking longer time to download. So yeah, the connectivity issues will get rectified with 5G technology, and the size depends really on the app, what features app delivers.
Makes a lot of sense. I think app size and startup time are two things that Apptim will be supporting soon, because they're very important for performance. And I have a question that they sent me directly. I'm gonna quickly ask you, and maybe we have still a few more questions left. We'll see if we have time for all of them. So there's people in the audience that they're starting out with a performance practice with their mobile apps. Do you have any advice, practical advice for them on how to get started, based also maybe on your experience? If you don't have a practice yet in your team that focuses on app performance, what would be your recommendation there?
So yeah, I think the first advice that we'll do probably is to do not create a custom solution for that. I mean, there is a lot of, as I said before, a lot of platforms and solutions that are already in the market. So the first advice that I will do is integrate a solution that allows you to have visibility on the metrics. Once you have that, as I said before, you can start understanding what the pains are for the users, the general experience of the application, and then you can move on the whole metrics. And that is another important advice. Do not try to tackle the whole metrics that you have. I mean, I don't know, startup, app size, networking, all at first. It's better to tackle just one and then move on the next. When you have like a basis for that metric, you can move on for the next. Because if you try to tackle the whole metrics in the first step, you will find maybe a lot of problems, and that may require a lot of effort and time. So be patient, start with one metric, get better, and then move on with the next one.
Great recommendation. So don't get overwhelmed with everything, and start with the most important one for you and your team. Joshua, do you have any recommendations on how to get started?
Yeah, to build off Juan's, that's really good advice, by the way. I would say also, before even touching the keyboard and developing anything or integrating any solutions, I say it's like take a step back and look at it like at a high level, diagram it out, involve other teams that might benefit from performance of the application and the entire platform. Let's say you're putting app performance tracing within the mobile app, but could backend also benefit from looking at this type of data as well and getting their perspective, because you're looking at the networking. So involve them in the conversations as well, and other stakeholders across other teams that might, because you're going to be touching a lot of the app, right? So you're probably touching other people's code as well. Just making sure that you can talk to them and make sure you're testing or tracing the correct areas within the app. So I'd say like really that preparation phase to really diagram out really what you're going to trace within the app, I think is just very important, so that you can really understand and prioritize exactly kind of what Juan was saying. So you don't tackle that whole entire thing even after you diagram it out. You can start taking the pieces and take it one step at a time, because it's going to take a long time. And the biggest thing is being accurate. You really want to be accurate, and to be accurate, you should do this like one day to the next. It should take time to make sure you're accurately tracing all the pieces within the app. So yeah, that's what I would definitely say. Just the preparation phase. We did this in like a drawing. We had like a bunch of drawings of the kind of the app holistically at a high level, and then we went down deeper into parts that we felt might be more important, and we broke that out into like phases.
Makes a lot of sense. I think that's two things that are key. One is involve other teams, because this is something that should be a team effort, right? Because you are improving this to improve the end user experience. So if the whole team is not working towards that, and getting them involved early on makes them also to be part of it, and not something that maybe one team or one person is responsible for only. And so that's key, getting in other teams involved. And the second that is said, which is it's also great, is this is a practice that is started. It's not something that you do from one day to the other and that's it. So in order to actually see the benefits and also for the long term, so for future versions of your app, it's something that takes time. So as you said, it's a team effort, and it's something that you should have at least some guidelines on how the practice will look like in your team. And maybe adding to what Juan said, just start then with one thing, and then you can keep working on top of that. Anything? Do you have any recommendations for people that are getting started with mobile performance?
Yeah, I can give something from my personal experience. So 3 years before, I was not really into performance. Performance was something new to me. So what I did personally was to pair up with my developers and my infra team. So I learned a lot of information from them, from considering the performance aspect. And that was the first step which I took. So I would say pairing up with your developers, collaborate more with the infra side, get an holistic view of the entire application. And then like what Juan and Joshua said, break it down and narrow the scope. So break it down into smaller chunks and narrow the scope. Pick 1 or 2 matrices, understand how it works, what impact it brings to your customer, and what it really means, right? So once we start doing that, we will get an overview of how performance is important and what we need to handle and what all metrics we need to capture. Yeah, so those are the baby steps which I took initially, and it worked.
Totally, and I think that's a great also feedback that I have for a lot of testers, that sometimes they want to start with this practice, but they need to have the support from the developers, because also they are the ones who really know part of the app architecture and what things could be impacting the user experience and the performance. So teaming up with your developers when you have the teams in a way they are separated, I think it's just the first step you need to take, because this is something that both testers and developers can define and look after, and decide what is more important to measure and where to do it and how to do it. And we're getting near the end of today's panel. Before we leave, I have one more question, also talking a bit about the feature that is coming, and in some cases that is already here. And the question is around specifically for like shopping online and e-commerce. How far do you think we are from adopting AR and VR experiences? I've heard also teams are, even with the pandemic, giving that retail experience of going to a shop and actually trying something on you, that you just do it on your phone. You don't need to go anywhere. I know companies are working on that. What's your take on this? Do you think it's something that will sooner or later come to every type of shopping app? It depends on what your business is. From a technology standpoint, is it possible to do it today? Have you tried? So it's just a quick thoughts around this topic, and we will close soon.
I can start with that. So everyone is trying to bring up the offline experience online now, right? With the COVID pandemic and all. So people are trying to bring up the offline experience online. And I would say we are already there. So most of the apps, they try to leverage AR and VR capabilities already. They started leveraging it. So basically it comes back to the business where we are and what business we are into. So here in e-commerce space, we can say that IKEA already started the VR experience. So we can see things in IKEA showroom and we can actually feel and how they look, how it will be looking like when we buy or purchase it to our home or office. So that VR experience is already there. Even H&M is doing a VR customer service assistance or something where you can see the clothes which you're gonna buy and how it will fit on avatar, on those sort of things. And when it comes to real estate kind of, there is Airbnb, and there are some property applications over here which actually leverages these VR capabilities, and we can literally see the property which we are gonna buy in a 3D model. And we can just travel, roam around, and we can pick. So we are already there, I would say. So it's just based on the business which we are into.
Yeah, as far as DoorDash, I can't speak specifically on the exact things we're working on, but it's definitely something we're very interested in. I think this is especially also in the Dasher app, and I think for us, it's definitely thinking outside the obvious. of what AR and VR can do. Definitely, like visual, you can like try on, but like, what are some other applications of AR, VR, like kind of outside the box that we're thinking about that we can use it for on the platform? So that's something I'm also very interested in, is what can we use it to leverage? For me, we're on the Dasher fulfillment, so kind of making the Dashers experience a lot better. How can you use AR and VR for that? So those are the things that we're definitely very interested in. As far as what I've seen in other sites as well, I mean, I've seen, kind of, to your point, yeah, it is here. I've seen it on Amazon. I've seen it in, there's this one glasses company, you can actually like try the glasses on and different things like that. It's so realistic. I mean, it's so good. I've also seen another one from Microsoft where you could actually like visit a zoo like virtually. It's super cool. So I mean, there's some very, very, very cool applications on it. I think that yeah, just moving forward, I think it's definitely going to become a lot more popular, and it's definitely something we're interested in for sure.
Yeah, and having those out of the box features, it's something that I think we're also looking forward to, because as you said, some things are already here, and I think we even got used to them. But what else can this technology provide, and how to improve the experience? And that would be also a good competition to see how creative teams are in this area. Juan, do you have your take on AR and VR and how it's going to change the shopping experience?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting topic. In fact, I think that is a trend in the industry that each time is getting stronger. So I think that we are a few years to see something in, I mean, like a general trend in the application, in the e-commerce application. But I think that is a really interesting topic, and I think that we are willing for see new experience in online shopping. So I think that sooner we will have some new experience. I think that as the guy says, big companies like Apple already mentioned this new technology option to 3D models. So I think that is a trend that is getting much stronger these last few years. So I think that sooner we will have like a new experience for the e-commerce in general.
That's great, and I think we're all looking forward to see how the next 2 to 3 years will be and how our lives will change, because we are all consumers as well, besides our jobs. We're just near the end of this panel. I want to say thank you again for these 3 amazing speakers that have joined us from different locations around the world and share with us today their experiences and challenges around user experience in mobile and how they have tackled these issues in their teams. Thank you everyone for joining. This is recorded, so we're going to be sharing it later over email, and it's going to be probably available also on our website and our blog. Just visit it so you can see the recap. And if there's any questions left, that I saw there were some at the end, we will answer them later as well. So thank you everyone. Have a great rest of your day, evening, afternoon, depending where you are in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.